Well, the Eastern and Western Cape have been experiencing a drought for about 2 years, which has had devastating effects on the farming community in particular. However, persistent water crisis has been causing alarm in both urban and rural regions, with restrictions for businesses, an 87 litre water restriction for households, and smart water meter systems being implemented in 41 schools, which has saved 7.5 million litres of water. Well, joining us now from Cape Town is the Western Cape Premier, Helen Zille. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the programme. And one can understand the challenges and the difficulty that the province is facing given this serious and critical water problem. But people don't agree with your current approach, this drought levy. What do you say to those critics?
It's not for me to speak for the City of Cape Town. I can't do that. The bottom line is this. Water infrastructure, major water infrastructure, is a national government competence according to the Constitution and the law. But the National Department of Water and Sanitation is bankrupt. They had the worst audit outcomes of any department in government. And we can't allow Cape Townians or people living in the Western Cape to run out of water because the National Department is in such a crisis. That is why we are saying, as a temporary measure, we have to step in because we cannot allow people to run out of water. But I know there's a commitment from the City of Cape Town to recoup the money for major infrastructure. No one wants to hear at a time like this bickering and he said, she said. What people want is a plan. The National Department is supposed to fund that plan. They can't and they won't at this stage, and that is why we are having to step in, because the alternative is running out of water, and that can't happen.
How was this plan devised? Because people are saying that only the rich should be paying this levy, that the poor really can't. And, you know, a house of 400,000 rand isn't one that a wealthy person owns.
Well, this is going to be on a sliding scale, and people who own luxurious homes are going to be paying a lot more, up to over 2,000 rand a month, on this particular water levy that's been proposed by the City of Cape Town. Anyone in a house worth less than 400,000 rand won't be paying anything. So this is on a sliding scale from very modest to very high.
If it is a national problem, shouldn't the whole of South Africa be contributing to this, not just Cape Townians, because they seem to be being punished, for want of a better word, just by being in Cape Town?
The bottom line is that the Constitution gives functions to national government, provincial government and local government. One of the functions of national government is to husband, as it were, the national water resources and to build major infrastructure. They've done it in Richards Bay. They've done it with desalination plants in various parts of the country. They did it with water augmentation scheme in Guyana when there was a crisis there. And now, because it's the Western Cape's turn, they somehow don't have any money for it. Now, we aren't prepared to accept that the national government abrogates its responsibility when it comes to the Western Cape. We will stand firm. We will defend our voters and our residents and our ratepayers, because they have the right to be treated exactly the same as anybody else in the rest of the country, and the national government has a duty to act equitably and rationally across the whole country.
Now, probably from next week onwards, you're going to start seeing thousands of holidaymakers coming from other parts of the country and around the world descending on Cape Town for holidays in the Western Cape in general. That's going to put massive pressure on your water resource. How would you manage this period of time?
Interestingly enough, Peter, as many people leave Cape Town during this holiday season as arrive in Cape Town. So it roughly balances out, as long as our visitors understand that we do have a water crisis and that they are prepared to save like a local, which is the phrase we use. In the small towns along the coast, they're going to face a significant influx. That is why we have an emergency plan for every single small coastal town, and that is precisely why we have put such an effort into securing water over this particular period. The places that we were most worried about seem to be secure for this particular period, and we'll be monitoring it very closely. But there's a disaster plan in place for every single municipality in this province.
All right, we've run out of time, but very briefly, if you could tell us about this level 6 restriction coming into force next year. You have to consult, I guess, but will you be able to push this through?
Well, the big challenge is that if we get augmentation of supply, which will start coming on board according to the City of Cape Town in February, and if we save enough water, we should avoid day zero. And our major objective, everybody together, is to avoid day zero. And that's what we simply have to do. And together, we have to do what it takes to avoid running out of water, because that is really an alternative too ghastly to contemplate.
Premier Helen Zille, thank you very much indeed for your time.